Listening to Ring Kings Boxing on the PRO Media Network.
All right. Welcome to another installment of Ring Kings Boxing. We're in the building, man. Saturday edition. All the latest news and notes in the fight game, man. We bring them to you in this Saturday episode of Ring Kings Boxing. I'm Big Q chiming in. Got my co-host, the Ring Kings Boxing World, Eddie Too Mean Johnson. What's going on, Too Mean?
Good.
Chilling, my brother. In this installment of Ring Kings Boxing, fam, we're going to be covering all the latest fight news. A lot been going on in the fight game, to be honest with you. Manny Pacquiao, Errol Spence news broke the other day, pitting the two for an upcoming matchup in August. We'll cover the latest news and notes on that one. Of course, this was the most unlikely opponent that most people didn't want to see Pacquiao take on was The Truth. And that's going to be a very dangerous foe because Errol Spence will not take him lightly, would not give him additional fuel, just like Keith Thurman was telling them about he's going to retire him. He won't give him a reason to be any more upset than what he will be coming into this fight. Going to be a tough fight for Pacquiao to win. He wanted the big title fight, and I got to give him big ups for taking on Errol Spence. This will be a huge challenge for him because Errol Spence is strong. He's tough. He's intelligent. And whatever he hits you with, he hurts you. He will definitely come prepared for the legendary Manny Pacquiao, and no doubt about it. So we'll cover that in today's Ring Kings. We'll also talk about how the heavyweight game has been flipped on side of its head. It was supposed to be Tyson Fury running up against Anthony Joshua. That has all been, the whole damn apple cart has been flipped upside down thanks to Deontay Wilder stepping in there and busting all of that up as they ruled that they couldn't move on with that fight without Deontay. So he's now going to fight Tyson Fury. That's set. We're going to give you that information as well. Also going to cover, but Joshua out of the frame to fight Tyson Fury. Where does he go? Well, we'll break that down as well on today's Ring Kings Boxing. Also tonight, you got Jose Ramirez and Josh Taylor at 139 going at each other. We'll talk about that fight. That's tonight. And of course, with Spence and Pacquiao lining up, the other question in the welters is where does Terrence Bud Crawford goes? Well, we'll talk about that as well, among other news here on Ring Kings Boxing. So without further ado, I'd like to thank you guys for joining us. Please feel free to hit the like button. If you hadn't already hit the like button, please feel free to subscribe to Ring Kings Boxing and or share the links of Ring Kings Boxing on your social media or wherever fight and boxing fans dwell. We're in a building. So to me, welcome to the show, my friend. And we'll start right off with the news about Manny Pacquiao and Errol Spence set for August the 21st in Las Vegas. The two of the world's best boxers have agreed to fight each other. Manny Pacquiao will face Errol Spence Jr. on August the 21st, with both boxers announcing the fight on social media Friday. A source confirmed to ESPN that the fight had been set, though a venue has not been determined. Now, they did show the poster. Pacquiao 62-7-2 with 39 knockouts, considered by many to be a future Hall of Famer, has won championships in 8 different divisions. Spence, who's 27-0 with 21 knockouts, holds 2 of the 4 major belts in 147-pound division and is ranked number 4 pound-for-pound fighter by ESPN. Now, Gibbons, the president of Pacquiao Promotions, told ESPN that the fight came together quickly and that Spence was the only opponent for the Filipino senator. And, of course, they were quoted as saying that many people believe Spence is the best welterweight in the world and one of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the world. And Pacquiao has never shied away from fighting real fights. He's not going to make a fool of himself fighting YouTubers or social media guys like Floyd Mayweather is. And he wants to continue his legacy. He always fought the best and doesn't want to change now. So that guy took a shot at Floyd. Floyd could do whatever the hell he wants to do. at the end. They just can't stay away from just taking shots at the man. Gibbons was referring to Mayweather's upcoming exhibition bout against YouTuber Logan Paul on June the 16th. Mayweather defeated Pacquiao in 2015 in a long anticipated bout. Pacquiao's 42 hasn't fought since 2019 when he defeated Keith Thurman via split decision to return the WBA belt. He eventually vacated it. It's by far the longest layoff of his storied career. They took the belt off of Pacquiao because of his inactivity and gave it to Ugas, who is another storyline that depending on what needs to happen in that regard. Spence is coming off a victory over Danny Garcia in December to retain them WBC and IBF belts. With that being said, to me, Pacquiao, Spence, let's delve right into that, man. Talk about what this means to you.
I really feel that Pacquiao is taking a big risk with his health, because I think Errol Spence is like a little too big, too young, too strong, powerful, man. So I think Pacquiao is definitely diving into some hot water. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, let's go. I think hopefully he don't get hurt. So I commend him for his heart to step in with a young lion like Errol Spence. But I hope he don't get hurt, man. I think he's biting off a little bit too much. But we'll see. You know what I'm saying? I've never really seen Errol fight at a fast pace for the whole 12 rounds. And I think, you know what I'm saying, Pacquiao's real quick on his feet. He can get in and out real quick still. So we'll see how that works out. See how Errol Spence handles that. But I think he's too big and too strong, too young for him, man.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see just how it shakes up. I have to agree with that too, and I think this will be a very tough fight on Pacquiao. Bigger, faster opponent than Errol Spence. Younger. He's sitting there with 2 belts, and everybody didn't want to really see Pacquiao take on Errol, but Pacquiao wants to go out on top, and he figures that this would definitely be one of the more tougher fighters to fight. You think you can beat an undefeated Errol Spence at the top of his game, and Pacquiao has all that name with him, and this is a legacy fight insofar as Errol Spence, even though it's at the back end of Pacquiao's career. But it'd be a really big move for him to beat Pacquiao, even though it's not a belt. It's not nothing dealing with a belt. He can, but I think Errol Spence is up for the challenge, even though he was working on a fight with Ugas to get that done. But I think this was a fight that Errol always wanted to see happen. And I think it's good for boxing to see them two finally get at it. So it's going to be a tough fight for Pacquiao. I'll tell you what, man, because Errol Spence is going to come prepared for this one. All right, let's move on to the next bit of news. Here's Deontay Wilder signs a contract to fight Tyson Fury on July the 24th in Las Vegas. This is coming via boxing247.com. As they're breaking down the story, former WBC heavyweight champion Deontay Brown's bomber Wilder signed the contract for him to fight champion Tyson, the Gypsy King Fury, an ordered trilogy match that will be taking place on July the 24th in Las Vegas, Nevada. The fight will wind up taking place at the Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. It's unclear whether enough boxing fans will show up to sell out the 65,000 seat stadium, but it just might. That's where Fury's promoter Bob Arum has been talking about wanting to place it. Fury is en route to sign the portion of the contract to make the third fight with Wilder. And of course, he's 42-1-1, 41 knockouts for the Browns bomber. While this news may disappoint some boxing fans who hope that a step-aside deal will be worked out by Fury so that he could face Joshua on the 14th, that was never going to happen. I was not really big on that. I knew eventually that something was going to happen. It was moving on like this was a done deal. The boxing organizations have basically swept Deontay Wilder aside. Claims of Fury cheating, they just threw him on the side. The stuff that was going on with him, taking steroids, how he tried to bribe the farmer, that was brushed aside. All for them to set up a mega fight so they can make big dollars. And it was all upsetted by Deontay Wilder, which is I'm happy for that, because the way they did it, they were totally corrupt, dirty, and underhanded. Fury's 30-0-1, 21 knockouts, and his promoters at Top Rank likely believe that beating the former WBC champion Wilder is a mere formality at this point and shouldn't be a problem setting up the fight with Joshua for later this year. That ends up in loss because, and I'm going to get through this and then I'm going to give my point. I don't want Too Mean to give his on this. That may indeed be the case, but I still don't see all the time and effort put into making this Joshua fight thrown away like this. The boxing world was looking forward to seeing Joshua Fury battle out for the undisputed heavyweight championship. Nobody was in. Man, listen, man. Who the hell is this writer is on this asshole is Jeff Sorby. First of all, it's these blind ass reporters that's reporting the stories and they're not giving the full facts. A lot of stuff was bad. You put the film on, and I would see. I'm looking at exactly what I'm seeing with Tyson Fury. The third fight, a lot of the on-site, a lot of the attention will be put on Tyson Fury because he cheated the first and second fight with those gloves. And these dumbass people out here that they never seen it and saying, "Oh, he ain't cheat. Get your stupid ass off here. It's not for you." But the reality is Wilder and Tyson Fury is not a mere formality. Deontay Wilder was humiliated. He was beat down and bruised. He said he cheated. He said he felt like he was hitting him with some type of sharp metal in his glove. I think he called it an egg timer, which dented the side of his head. So, I mean, we showed pictures of that. He even spoke about it. A doctor confirmed that a human bone couldn't do that to another human head. It was some type of metal object that was in his gloves. The referees took the gloves, never said anything about it. If anything was in there, then they would have known about it. The boxing organization would have known about it. For him to get away with it means that they had manipulation at the top so they can move this super fight with Fury and Joshua ahead so they can make big bank. That's what it was always about. Wilder was merely a guy they try to sweep aside and even try to get him to co-sign on being, they started a whole new division in the WBC for Deontay Wilder called the Bridgerweight. So he can be moved out of the way of the heavier guys so he could fight for some bullshit Bridgerweight title. Of course, he stuck to his guns and he stayed with his ruling, and he ultimately got that when people said he wouldn't. He got a new trainer now because he got rid of Breland. And I just would caution to Deontay Wilder because you got a snake in your training camp. His name is Jay Diaz. He's the one that you blaming for what Breland was doing to you was actually Jay Diaz. You can look at Jay Diaz and see he was one watching his Fury's hands get taped. So if anything was happening, he would have been the guy to see it. He was the one I seen footage of him feeding your ass water when you said it was Breland do it. I seen Jay Diaz was doing it. So you still got a snake in your camp. Even though you got rid of Breland, you got rid of the wrong dude. But he got a new guy there that's training him. I seen footage of him fighting. What helps Deontay Wilder out is the fact that he was humiliated what happened with Tyson Fury. Then the cheating stuff, then all of the stuff that them bypassing him, sweeping him under the rug. He's pissed off. And that's something that is good for Deontay Wilder because it's going to motivate him to fight a better boxing as opposed to just simply being lazy and relying on his power all the time. You can see him doubling up, tripling up on the jab. I've seen him fight, and hopefully carries that into the next fight. And we don't have to wait long as it's set for July the 24th. To me, we followed this whole drama with Deontay Wilder, the back and forth over the last year or so, with him and Tyson Fury, the cheating from the first two fights and all of the stuff that came after the second fight. With this finally being on the docket, really close, July the 24th in Vegas. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, that's a damn shame that Tyson Fury is even still fighting and shit. I like it. Had that been an African American, so-called African American fighter that did what he did, they probably would have been banned from boxing for life, man. But the fact that they still saying how comparing them to the greats, and you know what I'm saying, he's recognized as the WBC heavyweight champ and all this shit, man. I was like, come on. And it was so obvious that he cheated, and if he's you know what I'm saying, even his greatness is being questionable because of, you know what I'm saying, behind the glove scandal and all this other stuff, steroids and all this shit. And I like, you that great, why you got to do that? You know what I'm saying? Why can't you just go off with pure talent like the greats did? You know what I'm saying? But I hopefully Wilder, you know what I'm saying, make the necessary adjustments. You know what I'm saying? To hit him with that right hand when he don't see it coming. That way, when he do put him down, he gonna stay down. And you know what I'm saying? Expose. You know what I'm saying? Because I was like, that's a damn shame how he's still fighting.
Yeah, it's about money at this point, and we know that's exactly what it was. They were looking for a mega super fight with epic payday going on, and that's what the Joshua versus Fury fight represented a massive payday for all parties involved, and that's what they were trying to get to. And they would cheat, lie, steal by any measure to get that to happen. But Wilder, true, good for him. He was able to get it turned over. Now he can make it right. There is no excuses. He got another opportunity to demolish Tyson Fury in the ring. And next time, put him down, keep him down, and upset their apple cart. Now let's move on to the next bit of news here. Is as Bob Abrams says, with Tyson Fury off the table for Anthony Joshua, he turns to, guess what? Alexander Usyk. That's right, one of the most skilled fighters that's out there now performing as a heavyweight. Usyk is more than likely the next challenger for Anthony Joshua, and this is a dangerous opponent because we know Joshua's bigger and stronger than Alexander Usyk, but Usyk is super skilled, man. He showed when he had to fight with Derek Chisora that he could take punishment from a heavyweight as well, because Chisora was hitting him with some shots. That turned out to be a very, really good fight. For y'all who missed it, go take a look at that fight. That was a very good fight. Chisora gave more than I thought he was going to give. I thought he would just be a punching bag, but he was in there, making it work. He was in there fighting with Usyk, landed a lot of power shots to Usyk, and Usyk was able to take them shots really well. And that was the question: how could he take the power shots of some of the heavier heavyweights or the most skilled heavyweights? And even though Chisora's past his prime, he still was able to give Alexander Usyk some work in there. And as we get into the article, Fury, we know, will face Wilder in the next fight, third fight with the Bronze Bomber set for July the 24th. Josh was also looking to put the disappointment of falling apart from his mega fight with Fury behind him by focusing on a new fight of his own, most likely a fight with WBO mandatory challenger Alexander Usyk. A couple of dates have been banded around for the potential fight, both sides in the month of August. So what happens when AJ and the former undisputed Cruiser King collide? Who wins? Bob Abrams has gone as far as he went ahead of the Joshua Kubrak Pulev fight, when Top Rank Boss said again and again how this guy Pulev would take Joshua out. But the Hall of Fame promoter said he feels like Usyk had a hell of a chance against the reigning and defending WBA, IBF, and WBO heavyweight champion. And of course, they say presumably Abrams feels like Usyk's blend of skill and speed and southpaw trickiness will give Josh all he can handle. Abrams been critical of Joshua's chin in the past. It's largely due to the shock KO Joshua suffered at the hands of Andy Ruiz back in June the 1st, 2019. But he's not predicted Usyk to KO win, but Abrams not alone when it comes to expert thinking Usyk gives Joshua trouble. He does that. But can Usyk, who's 18-0 with 13 knockouts, actually get the win? If so, we might end up seeing Fury fight Usyk for all the marbles, or even Wilder against Usyk for all the heavyweight belts. Who has the tougher fight? Fury against proven puncher Wilder, who's pissed off, or Joshua against master boxer Usyk? How crazy it would be if both Fury and Joshua lost their next fight. It could happen. So with that being said, to me, we look into the article. This is probably going to be the next fight, unless he takes a softer opponent. But I don't know how soft you can get when you're sitting with 3 belts. You're going to have to face the top of each organization. So Aram looking at Alexander Usyk, both of them are Hearn fighters. I think this does happen. So with that being said, Alexander Usyk, Anthony Joshua to me.
Oh yeah, they better not sleep on Usyk, because he definitely could put I think he can pull a win out on Joshua, man. If he goes in there with the right game plan, he have the skill and the stamina and stuff. You know what I'm saying? He's a tough dude, man. Like I said, he's highly skilled. I think he'll give Joshua all he can handle, man. I think he might pull a win off. You know what I'm saying? So I think they might be sleeping on Usyk, and they think there's gonna be a easy fight for Joshua and shit. You know what I'm saying? Until he gets to Tyson Fury or Deontay Wilder or wherever, how that shit gonna turn out. But Usyk got a great chance of winning that fight. So you know what I'm saying, they better not sleep on him, man. I'm telling you that.
Yeah, that's a very dangerous fight, man. Very dangerous fight. I see Usyk going up against Anthony Joshua, man. That'd be a very dangerous fight, because he can move, he can punch, and Anthony Joshua definitely will have to be on his game. This will be probably one of the more tougher adversaries that he ever had to face in the ring. Definitely a guy that's more skilled than he is, knowing how to move and punch from different angles, and he's really intelligent, know how to put punches in bunches. He's showing that he could take a punch. I don't know how he would take Joshua's power. That'd be a whole nother thing because everything Josh would throw at you, it hurts. And I think he's a heavier puncher than a guy like Cesario. But we'll all see how it shakes. But this is supposed to be something they're looking at for the near future because as soon as the situation came down with Deontay Wilder, the next move was obviously for Anthony Joshua. What do we do? So the next thing is, could they get it set for July or August sometimes so that they can move forward after the fight is over with Wilder and Fury to cement the next move going forward. So a lot of uncertainty right now in the heavyweight division as the apple cart being turned upside down. And me, for one, I am so happy to see that happen because the reality is they were trying to push this stuff through and it backfired on the ass. So, I'm glad that happened. Anyway, let's move on to the next bit of news here, family, as we move into the matchup coming up tonight between Jose Ramirez and Josh Taylor, as this is facing off at 139.6 weigh-in results were in Saturday night. And of course, you can see a slender-looking Ramirez weighed in at 139.6 on Friday for his undisputed light welterweight fight against champion Josh Taylor at the Virgin Hotels in Las Vegas, Nevada. The event will be on ESPN as Taylor weighed in as 139.6 and looked like he was near his fighting weight. There were no signs of Taylor's failures that he had drained himself to make the 140-pound limit. The winner of Taylor versus Ramirez fight will be the undisputed lightweight champion and will hold all 4 belts, which is the IBF, the WBA, the WBC, and the WBO. So this is a big fight with all 4 belts up for the move. Ramirez wants to become the first undisputed fighter of Mexican heritage. If he does that, he'll beat Canelo Alvarez to that achievement. Canelo has already finished Ramirez. Good luck with this. Canelo is trying to become the first Mexican fighter to become undisputed at 168, and he's within 1 title of accomplishing that. Now, 2 champions had a fiery face-off afterward as surprisingly aggressive WBA, WBO champion Ramirez, who's 26-0 with 17 knockouts, looking angry while joining back with 4th the IBF WBA 140-pound champion, and Taylor, who's 17-0 with 13 knockouts. So these guys are, going at each other, join at each other. So the fight should be pretty good. It was a totally different Ramirez than the rather sheepish one that stood to face off for Taylor. He looked embarrassed and tongue-tied when Taylor talking to him nonstop during the face-off with his lock on him the entire time, knowing that he talking that trash. Now, of course, on the underweight card, you see Jose Zepeda at 140 versus Hank Lundy, Elvis Rodriguez, and Kenneth Sims face off there. And of course, you see other fights as well on the rest of the undercards for the Taylor and Ramirez bout. All 4 belts to mean up for tonight. Undisputed light welterweight champion is up on the table tonight. So one of these gentlemen will walk away undisputed light welterweight champion. Two-Man, what do you think about this?
I think it's gonna be a great fight because I know Taylor is a tough dude, man. You know what I'm saying? He stops at nothing. You got to kill him to win against him. But excuse me. But yeah, I think it's gonna be a good fight. I think it'll be like one of those fights with Irish Mickey Ward and Toro Gotti fights.
Right.
Whoever got the most heart is gonna win this one. But I know it's gonna be a good fight, man. You know what I'm saying? Both of them. Well, I know Taylor. He's real tough. I don't know too much about Ramirez though, so we'll see.
Same grittiness and similar grittiness. That's why a lot of people like this fight. They're both 2 gritty guys that that's very confident, and this will be a good fight this weekend. Undisputed light welterweight champion there going at each other, so it should be a good back and forth here.
Yeah.
So with that being said, we'll get ready to move on to the next story or the next fight that we're covering, and that is if you look at with Errol Spence off the table and Pacquiao off the table, where does the move go for a guy like Bud Crawford next? And that's the next story we'll lead with, as Crawford could face Jose Ramirez and Joshua Taylor winner, says Bob Arum. Now, how do you feel about that? Crawford is sitting up at the welterweight. You got the light welters and Ramirez and Taylor, and all of a sudden it could be, well, according to Bob Arum, Terrence Crawford could be fighting one of these guys next for their belts. How'd that sound? Well, according to Sean Jones of the BoxingNews24.com, promoter Bob Arum says that it's a possibility that WBO welterweight champion Bud Crawford could face the winner of the Saturday fight between light welterweight champions Jose Ramirez and Josh Taylor. Crawford versus the winner of Saturday's 140-pound unification match will potentially occur if Taylor Ramirez victor move up to 147 to go after his WBO welterweight strap. If not, the winner of the Ramirez versus Taylor fight will likely face WBO mandatory challenger Jake Catterall next, according to Arum. Taylor, who's 17-0, 13 knockouts, is already on record saying that he wants to hold on to the WBO title long enough to defend against Catterall, who has been waiting around for a world title shot for a long time. That match will likely take place in the UK, obviously. But things are not looking good for Crawford. Having failed to put together a fight between himself, he's 37-0 with 28 knockouts, and Manny Pacquiao recently, things are starting to look bleak for the 33-year-old Nebraska native. Arum might not have to trot out another old-timer for Bud Crawford to fight if he fails to get him the big fight that he's sitting idle waiting for. Crawford has recently already been beating badly over the hill Amir Khan and Kell Brook recently. He defeated the Mean Machine, who was completely unknown to the usual boxing fan in between these mismatches. Crawford wants a big fight, but he's shown zero interest in facing the two highest ranked contenders with the World Boxing Organization. Number 1, Virgil Ortiz. Number 2, Sean Porter. He was going to fight Manny Pacquiao and Abu Dhabi, but that didn't come off, said Bob Arum to Boxing Social on Terrence Crawford. So we're looking around for a big fight for him with spectators sometime in the fall of this year. Now, this is the options for Terrence Crawford. With Arum saying he wants to put together a big fight for Bud Crawford next, these are the only fighters that you can consider fitting the description. Danny Garcia, Keith Thurman, Mikey Garcia, Jaron Ennis, Conor Benn, Virgil Ortiz, and Sean Porter. Now, I don't think these are, besides Sean Porter, who is mandatory, it's already on record saying that he's saying that Crawford's looking for, trying to put together a big fight, whatever that may be, and that Sean wants to fight in July. So he's already moved past, according to an article, looking to fight somebody else. But that's the mandatory for Bud Crawford's belt. Garcia and Thurman are both on the downsides of their careers. It's unclear whether Arum can get either of them to fight Crawford if Arum isn't willing to give that decent money. They're going to laugh him out of the room if he tries to offer $1 million for a Crawford fight. He probably can't afford either of those guys, given that Crawford isn't a pay-per-view attraction. That's the whole problem. To bring in money for Crawford to fight, will come down to fighting in front of a large crowd, and that could be not easy to do in his home state of Nebraska. So with that being said, to me, a lot of obstacles for Terrence Bud Crawford to face. Speak to the family members about what's really going on, bro. You can give your extended take on that, or what's really going on with Crawford and why he can't seem to land these fights like he's supposed to.
Well, thanks to Bob Arum, man. You know what I'm saying? Well, like we talked about many times before, he need to get away from him and do his own thing. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, anytime a promoter speak out against you like he did with Terrence Crawford, talking about he can't promote him, he needs him to you know what I'm saying, cause, you know what I'm saying, like a lot of fighters used to do, play the bad guy role or the good guy role or something like that, and really push himself to get fights. Like he want Terrence Crawford to help do his job. You know what I'm saying? Then he want to take him back. Focusing on back for where he came from. And you know what I'm saying, with Josh Taylor and all them, the winner of that fight, it's like you're taking him back. Like shit, he should push for that damn Ugas fight, get the other belt, because he said his goal was to become undisputed welterweight champion. So why not go for Ugas? He got the WBA belt. So go for that fight, and then that'll make a good unification bout with Errol Spence or Pacquiao. Pacquiao happens to pull out a miracle and beat Errol Spence. You know what I'm saying? That's the fight that Terrence Crawford wanted also. He wanted Pacquiao. They were saying they were trying to get it, but they couldn't. You know what I'm saying? And he wants Errol Spence. So that, you know what I'm saying? I think, you know what I'm saying, this promoter, man, he's not doing a good job with Terrence Crawford. Terrence Crawford, you know what I'm saying? He just like, fuck it, man, and just go and do his own thing and get the fights he wants. Because he's 33. He ain't getting no younger, man.
Yeah, I agree with you too, man. I think a lot was going on with Terrence Crawford. He made a bad decision to go over there to Top Rank. He should have went to PBC and joined Errol and the rest of those guys over there. He wanted to do something different. He went to Bob Arum. Abrams always talking about how expensive fights are. I don't know if he thinks this is 20 years ago or whatever it is. He's just too cheap for his own good. To have big fights, you got to put up money. And I think Terrence Crawford, despite the things that Aram's saying about, if he wants to be gold, how he talks about him in social media, I mean, it's just really ballless, in my opinion. I lost a lot of respect for Bud Crawford, how he's handling his business with his promoter. If my promoter was talking like that some bitch is working for me. If he was talking like that about me, I would fire his ass and find somebody that can meet my goals and expectations. He's 33 years old, and only thing that he's had since he's been fighting in Top Rank is a bunch of people that weren't up to par. He had to bring Kell Brook down from somewhere. Kell Brook ain't fought at the welter weight level in years. Gave him some trouble before he adjusted his style. The Green Machine was an entertaining fight that Crawford fell asleep on and then had to wake up when he was tagging him in there, when the Green Mean Machine was tagging his ass. And of course, man, Amir Khan, that was just, that's ridiculous. It's just bull crap. It's window dressing. PBC is where the people at. And the smartest move for Crawford to do right now is to go at Ugaz. I mean, that was the fight that Errol Spence was lining up to happen. But Errol Spence went to Pacquiao because he's about legacy. He's about fighting, having that on his resume, fighting a guy like Pacquiao on his resume. Bud Crawford needs to, while Errol is doing that, he needs to go and speak and make the fight happen between Yordenis Ugaz and himself. That way, if he beats Ugaz, he can have another belt, and that'll make 2 for 2. 2 belts I have, 2 belts Errol Spence have, and that'll put them in direct collision course for each other. That should be happening, not looking at taking on the light welterweight champions after this if they decide to move up to come after his belt. That's total wrong thinking. You got to lock up your own backyard. This is not sound fundamental thinking by Crawford or his people. He should be pointing in the direction of Yordenis Ugaz and make that fight happen. If not, then there is no going to the rest of these other fighters that I just named. The mandatory for his title is Sean Porter. That's the mandatory. So with that being said, that'll end Ring Kings Boxing, family. I'd like to thank y'all for tuning in for another episode of Ring Kings Boxing as we cover all the latest fight news, man, in this matchup. So in this thing, man, a very big fight that's set up between the Pacman and the Truth. Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury, all kind of stuff. It's just a fantastic time for boxing. I'm Big Q chiming on this Ring Kings Boxing. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, share the shows on your social media, and join the Ring Kings Boxing family. From me and to me, thank y'all for joining us. Peace.
Peace.